guess I should have some volume on this trailer, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm Adam, an autonomous data analysis and monitoring unit. I'm kinda your guide.
What is going on, everybody? What is up? It is Thursday. It is April 9th. Right now, it is about 6:12 p.m. Welcome to VR365. This is a shiz show extraordinaire, but luckily, I've got a guest today, and I actually have a number of guests that are lined up for emergency situations. And Juan is one of those. And so today I didn't know what was going to happen. You guys might remember Conrad Lawrence was going to be a guest on the show, and then I wasn't sure if he was going to be a guest, so I got Juan as a possible guest, and then Conrad was like, no, I'm going to come on, and then I'm like, okay, well, I can have both of you guys on. I haven't heard from Conrad, so I think we're basically just going to have special guest Wizard Juan. Yeah, I call him Wizard Juan because his name on our Discord server is basically like Wizard Juan 01 or something like that, right? How's it going, Juan? What are you doing?
I'm doing great right now. It's going really good, yeah. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great. And, you know, this is going to be an interesting angle, too, because Juan is 18 years old. So it's interesting because, like, I've got kids that are in that age range, and they don't give a damn about VR. And so I've kind of always had this idea that, like, young people don't really care about VR. So I thought it would be kind of cool to talk to a young person that does care about VR, that is interested in VR, and, you know, get your thoughts on things. I'm going to go ahead and switch up this little trailer that's running here, just throw something else on. But yeah, it's going to be a shiz show. We're going to kind of be all over the map. But we're also going to interview Juan and see what he's doing, and we'll check it out. So why don't we start off, Juan, with let's go back to the year 2016. So if we go back to like this exact time, are you 18 like right now? So back in April 9th of 2016, you would have been 14, I guess?
I was 14.
Wow.
It was just yeah.
Were you like when that happened, when we first got VR with like the HTC Vive launched and the Oculus? By the way, it's like the 4-year anniversary, right, of HTC Vive, like a couple of days back, and it was the 4-year anniversary of the Oculus CV1. I don't know that anybody said anything about this anywhere. Have you seen on like Twitter or anywhere anybody mentioning that it's like the 4-year anniversary for these two platforms?
Actually, I was like thinking about that because that was like March 28th, but I guess it's a coronavirus thing. It's like no one's really talking about it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like a lot of things are kind of slipping through the cracks. In fact, looking at chat right now, Valdarg says, has Anthony said anything about that virtual HTC conference VR event? Well, I haven't really said anything about anything because we just started the show. We're just getting started. And another thing I probably should mention, guys, is I'm in a weird spot right now. Like, not just with, like, VR in general, but just, like, life in general. It is weird out there. I don't know if it's weird for everybody, but it's weird for me. It just, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of September 11th. Like, I actually think back to, it's even weirder than September 11th, though, because, like, when September 11th happened, it was, like, a week of weirdness because, like, it happened. And then for like another week, you would be like driving around or walking around or doing anything, and there were no airplanes in the skies anywhere, like no airplanes. And it just seemed like surreal, you know, but it only lasted, I mean, obviously it was a big deal for a long time, but like that surreal aspect only lasted like 1 week. And then people kind of returned to normal. I mean, obviously not really, but I mean, everybody was kind of shocked by that thing. But like this situation that we're in right now is so more elongated. Like for you, for you, Juan, are you, I don't know if you're going to like a community college or maybe you're like a senior in high school or where you're at as far as that goes, but I got to imagine your school probably shut down or maybe they're doing it
Yeah.
online. How's that been?
So it shut down. Like we were in the middle of spring break, and then after like we were supposed to come back, but they told us don't come back, and like they basically canceled it until May 4th right now.
Okay.
So we're just chilling and we're doing work here, but like it's no one really knows a lot. Like even the principal said that they don't know. Like it seems like it's really up to arms how long this is really gonna last. Like
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Yeah, gaming science teacher says Anthony Juan wasn't born yet on 9/11. I kind of got that. Yeah, I kind of realized
yeah,
that.
no.
Yeah, based on his age. I have a 17-year-old son. Actually just turned 17 like very, very recently, right? So he's
Hmm.
only 1 year younger than you. He's a junior in high school. And
Hmm.
he's in a weird situation too because it's like they haven't really, I don't think they're going back like May 4th, like maybe you guys are going back. And it's going to be like a longer period. And then it's like doing schoolwork remotely. And it's
Yeah,
just, it's all madness, man. But
it's a mess.
it's got to be worse for you though, because like you're supposed to be graduating, right? Within a certain period of time.
Yeah, they were like talking about how we're gonna do graduation, prom. They really like they have no idea like at all. Like they're just like they're still trying to figure out maybe online, like VR, but no, I don't think so. It's gonna be hard. They're thinking maybe they'll do it in groups, like 200 students graduate, then another two, like if it gets easier.
See, when you're 100 years old, you'll look back on this when we
Yeah,
conquer aging and you're living forever. You'll look back on this as like, I remember the year 2020. That was when my prom got freaking ruined and I didn't really graduate the right way.
yeah, no, it's gonna be hard. I hope they figure it out though. Hopefully,
Yeah. So,
yeah,
but one of the things I was trying to say though is like just this weirdness, right? It's like, I haven't been paying attention to VR news like I normally do. Like, I don't know. It just, like, I've kind of been in like a state of weirdness because I still have to like drive out to work and come back from work. And then there's people that are like locked down here that are not leaving anywhere. And it's just a weird thing. And so my normal routine has kind of been disrupted and I'm not really like I'm not playing VR as much as I've been playing VR normally. Has any of your like gaming habits or news related habits, has any of that changed since this started? Or maybe you're like gaming more and reading even more news?
okay, so it's like interesting because we don't have that much schoolwork. So I'm like doing stuff like every now and then, but like now I have so much more time to be on VR and be like looking at news. But there's not that much news as a thing because everyone is at home. Like I watch your show and then I like look at F reality and like VR, but now F reality is going on break and so we have rendered reality and then virtual strangers that are still going. But a lot of people just seem to be doing their own thing because I mean you gotta understand times are hard here.
Well, you know, one of the things about it, yeah, there's not a lot of news. Like I used to
Yeah.
do, I mean, this was called VR365, and we did it every day
Yeah, I
for like a
remember those
long time.
days.
Yeah, before my job came back, and I actually had to go back to work again. But
Yeah.
but like if I was doing a daily show right now, I have no idea what I would talk about. I would be like grasping at straws because like why don't we bounce over to the webinar real quick?
Yeah.
And we could take a quick look. So we're switching over here to the webinator. I believe I have Sean's voice and everything on this one too. We don't have chat, so he's taking the place of chat. Sorry about that, folks.
Sorry.
Um, but yeah, so okay, so here is Upload VR. And man, like, what is their big news stories? Like, they don't really have much to talk about. I mean, they're talking about like Oculus Quest or Rift S has kind of been coming back in stock a little bit. I know there was a little bit of stock that like came back for a brief period of time. And then that kind of evaporated pretty quick. It says 11 table tennis on Quest to surpass Rift sales as devs plan new features. That pretty much happens with basically every game that goes to the Oculus Quest. One of the things that we've realized is that if you are a VR game designer, if you can get your game on the Oculus Quest, you are looking at a beautiful situation. It'd be even more beautiful if like there were millions of headsets available, but still you've got a captive audience and they are so freaking hungry for anything and everything, right?
Yeah, when I was a only Quest owner, I had a PSVR, but like that died a little bit in the last year. So I've been like, I was like an only Quest owner for a while. I would like buy every game, like literally, like it was just like almost everything that came to it. Because I don't know, it's just sometimes some of them are short, some of them just like there's just not much else to play, so you just buy everything, and a lot of them are good. That's why the reviews are like insane. Like there's like you see, there's so many 5-star, 4-star, and then on the PC, it's like they're a lot more stingy, I guess, because they have more options.
Yeah, and a lot of PC gamers complain about everything on the Quest is just a port. Like all they got are like leftover games. But the thing is, the leftover games that they're getting are like really good games and they're dialed in really well. And like 11 Table Tennis, like I haven't actually played the Quest version of that, but it's like a great PC VR game. And I've heard the Quest version is really good and it's been dialed in very well. And then like when you're using the Quest and you don't have a cord, and man, I've been playing a lot of Half-Life Alyx, right? That's the one game that I have been playing, and I'm playing it with my Valve Index and the cord. I've got a problem with my Valve Index too, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna grab it real quick. Let's see, I don't know if it'll show up here. Okay, let's see if I can show like this this section of the cord. I don't know if you guys can see, but it's got like a kink in it, like right here. Like you probably can't really tell, but there's like a kink right here that is a real bad place to have a kink. And then there's some other little parts as well. And I'm playing Alyx, right? And I'm getting so immersed in the game, but my immersion is constantly disrupted by that cord. And it's frustrating, you know? And so when you're on the Quest and you get to ditch the cord, it's pretty liberating. But yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I have a similar issue actually. Like, so I have my CV1 right here.
Yeah.
And then I have like so many like tangles, and like no matter how many times I try to fix it, it just like it's all over the cable, and I'm not sure. Like,
no, I know. My CV1 looks very similar to that, and so the way that this happens, like the way this happens is you're always using your VR headset, right? And so you're using it, you're done using it, and so you take it off, and you might just like lay it right on the ground. And then you go do whatever you're doing, and then you come back and just pick it up. The problem is that that's a really bad idea. Like one thing they should explain to people. Let's go ahead and switch back over to this window here so we can see chat. But it's a bad idea to do that, because what happens is you do end up with these like permanent kinks. Really what people should do is when you're done playing VR, you should actually disconnect that cord from where it's connected. Like Valve Index got the little breakout thing, or if you're using like a Vive junction box, or you have a little extender or something, you break it off of that and then you unravel it so that it's nice and straight, and you leave it like in a nice spot. And then next time you're going to do VR, you unravel, connect it. But like, dude, I mean, do I want to do that? Hell no. But it's like, we're suffering for it.
Have you heard of the tether? I don't know if it's called tether, but like a lot of people, is popular. You like hang like these things on your wall that like put they leave the wire, like it essentially makes it wireless, because you have the headset always hanging down, and then when you want to play, you just put it down, and then it's just following you around. I don't know what it's called.
Well, it's like the dog pulleys. It's like the little like
the pulley system. That's the name. Yeah,
but
it is like
Have you tried that?
I haven't tried it because I have a fan, so I'm scared it's just gonna.
That would be a problem. But no, just connect it to the fan. Just connect it to the fan.
It just spins around.
You could play a great tornado game or something. The problem with the pulley things, like people have gone down that road. We've had debates about it. I've actually never tried it, and it's probably The thing about one of the things I've always wondered is, first of all, you're going to need like a lot of extra cord to do that, because like you got to go up to your ceiling and then go along your ceiling and then come down, and that's going to take extra cord. So you're going to need like an extension or something. And then when it's coming down, it's like, okay, well, what about when you're done with the headset? Do you have like some kind of like mannequin that's standing up that you put the headset on them? Or do you have it coming down even more where you can lay it on the ground, but then there's going to be too much I don't know. I don't know, man. It's a problem.
It is a problem. It's like, I do. And I'm also scared about, like, if you put it up there, maybe like a spider, I don't know, a spider just starts putting a web in your headset and you put it on. It's just,
well, you see, on Reddit, you see lots of pictures of spiders. The thing about spiders, though, is like my headset, like right now, my Valve Index is laying on the ground right here. My CV1 is on top of a shoebox, but it's like inches from the ground. My PlayStation VR headset is sitting on top of the PlayStation 4 Pro, but it's like really close to the ground, and just like easily spiders could crawl on any of these things. So far, knock on wood, I have not seen any spiders in my headset. So I've been lucky. What about you?
Like, no, I've never said one, but I always like the way these things are shaped, like perfect for a spider to, like, it's like we have like those little like caves where they like sometimes go into, like between rocks and stuff. This is perfect. Like, it's like a perfect little rounded area where they can put their weapons.
I can imagine. Maybe my cat's in the background. Maybe she scares away the spiders. But I could imagine if you put the headset on and had no idea, right? You got the headset on and then you see a freaking giant, because it would be giant to you because your eyeball's right up in there, right?
Yeah.
And you know that spider's like millimeters away from your eyeball. Holy crap.
Yeah. That would be so scary.
PTSD, man. You would never want to go back in your headset again.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me switch this trailer up. You know, one thing I did want to ask you, though, because you mentioned about the Oculus Quest, and you mentioned about buying, basically like buying like every Oculus Quest game that came down the pipe. And the thing that I wanted to ask you in relationship to that is, like, would you spend a lot of time on like the Oculus Quest subreddit, like when all of this was going on? Because there's kind of like this community that's going on there where it really reminds me, this is going to be before your time too, because you're probably like 4 years old or something, but like when the Xbox 360 first came out, it had Xbox Live Arcade, and it was like a new thing. Like buying games online was kind of new, and like they would have every week, they'd have like one big Xbox Live Arcade game per week, and the entire community of like Xbox 360 people, it's like all of us would hop from game to game to game, and it was like this shared camaraderie. We'd, at like 11 table tennis would come out, everybody would get it, everybody would be talking about it. Then the next week Red Matter comes out, everybody gets it, everybody talks about it. Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, it's very, very much like that. I remember, so I started with the launch games, and I got everything that anyone would get, like Beat Saber, Super Hot Job Simulator, there's one more, Vader Immortal. Yeah, I got all the launch stuff. And then when I remember the first wave of software was Electronauts and Wizards, and then I picked up those two, and then I kept picking up everything, and it was just like, I remember the subreddit would blow up. But I have an issue with this subreddit because, like, do you know just the Oculus one, not the Quest one?
Yeah.
They have like, dude, it is like a war zone because you got like half Rift, half Quest, and it's like I did an experiment where when I got my Rift CV1, I posted on there like I just a box just to see what happened. Like I'd be like, I got a Rift, and you have literally people going like, why would you get the Rift? The Quest is so much, and then those people, yeah, Rift 90 hertz, and then it's like, no, 80 hertz. Why? I have a Rift S. It's so much better, and then it's just like they go back and forth. It's
Yeah. It's the tribe think, it's like a tribe think. Yeah, I mean that happens, and the other thing about like the Oculus Quest subreddit is like it's too popular. There's too many people there. And so like you could post a thread about something, it is buried in minutes. Like it's just like it's gone. It's buried under an avalanche. And so like you got people getting brand new quests and they're like, oh, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. And they quickly do a post. And so those things flood the thing. And then people flood it with their pictures of like, it just came in, you know, like their box of the quests and all of that. And it's pretty hard.
I got two of my friends to get headsets this week because one of them, the Quest came back in stock, so they picked one up, and then another one got one of the used Rifts that are back in stock. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Like CV1s, like they're selling a lot of like refurbished CV1s.
Yeah. He got one of those because he like got scammed actually on Facebook Marketplace because you know their website where they sell stuff is like Craigslist.
Yeah.
He like tried to buy one off there and then he got scammed. It was like, so you have to be careful in those places. And then he ended up getting his money back from like a chargeback. And then he got another one off Oculus officially, so he got lucky there.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Like when you're buying like Craigslist and things like that, I would like meet the person at like a physical place, like Starbucks or something, you know, where you're in a big pub. I mean, you can't do it now. Like now you can't do it. Where do you meet at a public place? So you said though that a couple of your friends just recently got Quest, so they were able to actually like go on the website and get one, because I've heard like there are so many scalpers that just swarm this shit. It's almost like the toilet paper phenomenon, right? It's like there's people that are rushing to buy toilet paper so that there continues to be a shortage of toilet paper so that they can then try to sell the people are just awful, right?
So bad. I hate it. I see it like $600, $700 quests and I'm like, oh my god, dude, like what are you doing?
Yeah, I've been tempted. I mean, I've almost been tempted, like, because in my olden times, like long time ago, I would, if a situation like this happened, I would be like an opportunist. And I would be like, well, you know, I love the quest and everything, but I know I'll get one in like a couple of months. I'll sell it right now so I can freaking get $1,000 for it. And then I'll just buy it back later because I've got other headsets I can play with. You know, I could do that. Now I don't really believe in that because I kind of believe that, I mean, you know, I just don't like the whole scalping thing, but I have done it in the past. I feel bad. You know, I might still be paying a price for all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some new people coming aboard, so that's good news. But let's actually go back to, I was talking about 2016, and then I think we might have got sidetracked into some other little angle or whatever. But what I was curious about, so you were 14 years old back in the year 2016.
Yeah.
Were you aware of any of this VR stuff at all back then? Or when did you first become aware of VR? Like how long ago have you been tracking all this?
So I guess my generation would be part of like the Minecraft. Like we watched a lot of Minecraft YouTubers, and I remember they got like they got the first dev kit for the what's it called? It's the DK1. That's what it is. Yeah, the DK1 for the Rift, and they were like trying out Minecraft in VR. I was like, oh shoot, there's like this thing that puts you in the game. I was like, damn, that's crazy. Like it was like really interesting. But then I found out you need a gaming PC, and I was like, I don't know. And I kind of forgot about it until like way later. Like, yeah.
Okay. So you had heard about it through these YouTubers and Minecraft, but you weren't like a long time VR nut job back when you were 13 or something. You've been following this all the way. When did you buy your first? When did you get your? Or when did you try like a legit VR headset?
At the Microsoft store, they had like some Vives. I tried like Job Simulator and Space Pirate Trainer. That was insane. I was like, damn, like it was crazy. It had like, I don't know. I just remember being like completely just blown away by it. It was like crazy because I remember I was like playing the game and I was thinking like, where am I in real life? Like I just forgot where it was. It was like it was crazy. It's so immersive.
Yeah, but does it wear off after a while? Because like I go back to my earliest, I mean, I guess it does with everything, right? Like I have this big giant, you can't see it here, but I have a big giant projector screen that I don't use anymore. I don't even have a projector, but I remember when I first got that projector and there would be like a boxing match or something, and we'd have a bunch of people over here, and like everybody that would come in this room, because it, like, you know, the boxing match or a big football game or whatever, it'd be on that giant screen. It's like 128 inches diagonal is what it was, right? And people would come in and they would look at it and they'd be like, "Oh my God, dude, if I had this, I would never leave the house." You know, like they would talk like that, right?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Dude, you must just do everything in here, play all your video games, watch Blu-ray movies, blah, 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 blah." And I did. And when I first got it, it was as amazing as everybody said it was. But it's basically like everything else on planet Earth. It's unfortunate. What happens is we adapt, we adjust, we get acclimated to everything, man. Like you could be dating the most incredible supermodel in the world. She's eventually just going to be another girl to you, you know? I mean, everything wears off, right? And with VR, it's the same thing. So like when you first were like so immersed like that, what about like now? Do you ever still get those immersive feelings?
Okay, so the technology, it does wear off. Like that feeling, I mean, you can accept, we do get used to it, but I think when we get some games that do different things, like we get Half-Life Alyx, Walking Dead, when you're like stabbing zombies, pulling it out, that's when that moment comes back, is when you're doing stuff like that, because it's like, now it's up to the software. Like, we got used to the hardware, but now it's the software has to blow us away. And that's what I think, yeah.
Yeah, I also believe too, like, I was talking with Oliver Kralos, that UC Davis guy. I don't know if you happen to see that interview, but we were talking about the fear of heights. Because like when I first got my Vive, like that breakthrough experience that you had, you know, at the Microsoft store, I had the exact same experience, but I actually bought a Vive. Like it was like a crazy expenditure for me to spend like $900, not even knowing what the hell. Like I had never tried VR anywhere. I never tried Google Cardboard, Gear VR, nothing. Had never tried VR. And I bought a Vive for like 900 something or whatever it was, right? And then I also had to buy a GTX 970 video card. So it was like another 200 for that or whatever, 250, 280 at the time. And so it was like $1,000 investment I made, and it was totally not knowing if this was going to like amount to anything. Then I get my Vive, and that very first time I put the headset on, and it's like the Steam VR, that Steam VR setup where it's like zzz, 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 and like, you know, these tables are popping up and the little guys are running around and all that. And I was like, because I had the volume like hella way too loud, and it was like scaring the crap out of me, dude. And so it can be really powerful when you're first in VR, like your very first experience. But I was telling that Oliver Kralos guy that I had a really bad, I have a bad fear of heights. Like to this day, I still do. Like I'm going to get on the Empire State Building or something, and like they have a railing, and I'll be like, you know, I really don't want to get too close to the edge of things. And when I first had VR, so many experiences would freak the living daylights out of me. And now I don't feel any of those sensations anymore. And this guy, Oliver Kralos, Doc Ock, he was saying, well, maybe you like solved that problem by... And no, I haven't solved that problem. I get on the top of a building. I'm not going to get to the edge. No effing way. But what I think it's going to take is like dramatically higher resolution and dramatic, like more field of view, higher resolution. Because I think what'll happen is, like, I think our brains get accustomed to like what we're getting right now. But then when we get like a giant leap in resolution or field of view and all of that, then I think your brain is going to be like, what? It's almost going to be like a new powerful drug, like a new hit of a new drug or something.
Yeah, I hear some people that like have crazier, like I know like what we say is like crazy, but like I hear like some people I saw on Reddit, it was like, I don't know, they're probably exaggerating, but they like sometimes say their dreams, they start thinking that they're like in VR sometimes, that after days of just the first few days they have it, like they start being like, whoa, am I still in VR? And like they just go down that whole rabbit hole where they're like, wow, this is incredible. Like,
have you ever had any weird sensations like that sometimes happens to people too, like when they're brand new in VR, like somebody will say, I've just started playing. I've been playing VR for a couple of weeks, and every once in a while, I look at my arm. They'll be like, I look at my arm, and it seems like it's 4 inches like floating above where it should be, or something.
Yeah. Yeah, the kinematics are not the best right now, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've never gotten that, but yeah.
I had a really, really weird experience one time. No one is ever going to believe me about this, but I swear it felt so real to me. So I was playing Raw Data, the game Raw Data, and I had been playing it all day, like for hours and hours and hours. And it's like constant teleport. Like back when I was playing it, I think it was teleport only, and then maybe they added like free locomotion later. But it was I was teleporting everywhere, constant teleportation. I'm playing the game all day, and this was very early in my VR career. And then so I had stopped playing for a minute, and I was like in my living room, and my kids were there with like one of their friends. And like I looked at the kitchen, and I swear, like I just like teleported to the kitchen, because it was like all of a sudden I was in the kitchen, and I'm like holy shit, I'm in the kitchen, I just teleported. And I was telling my sons and their friends, I was like, did you guys see me walk over to the kitchen? And one of them was like, no, how did you get over there? And I was almost thinking in my head, I believed it so strongly that it actually happened. I teleported now.
I have a friend that plays a lot of paddle, and he like, the Vive, you just hold it down to move, like the trackpad or whatever, yeah. And so sometimes he says that like on the first few days, he like one time he like got up and he's like he just went like that in real life, and he's like, why am I not moving? He's like, he got so weirded out. For me, it was screen door. That's like I still notice that to this day. So I started the PSVR, which had like lower resolution. So like I like how you don't want to focus because then you see screen doors. So I like tried to not focus. I just saw everything like how it was. So, but then sometimes in real life, I'm just like, I don't want to focus. Like, I'm trying to just, and then I'm like, wait, there's no pixels. Like, yeah, it's weird.
I wonder if there's ever going to be a day where like it gets so realistic and so immersive, and we start having like, because you could have a lot of superpowers in VR. You can feel like VR makes you feel kind of powerful, because like you can grab something and just throw it away, and you're just like doing things, right? And you're like flying over here and doing that. And I wonder if it could ever get so immersive that I mean, I guess this will prove whether or not humans can ever like really bend spoons or something, because like we'll eventually, because our minds will believe we can do shit, but it's happening in VR. But then maybe we'll be in real life, and I mean, yeah, it's not going to happen, right? Nobody's going to be teleporting anywhere or flying. But yeah, so did you start with PlayStation VR? Like that was your first VR headset?
Yeah, it was a complete impulse buy, like yours. I didn't even to buy it. I was like at a store. I went to buy a Switch, and I was just like, that VR looks cool. Check it out, maybe. I was like, and then totally hooked from when I tried it. I was like, I played all the games that everyone played, Super like Beat Saber, Job Simulator, like all the basic games, and I just loved it. I thought it was so good. Like, yeah.
Did you?
And this was a year and a half ago.
Oh, okay.
Like November of 2018.
Did you already have a PlayStation 4 at the time? So it was just adding PlayStation VR itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was on sale actually for Black Friday. It was a Black Friday that I picked it up.
Oh yeah, and they've had some really good Black Friday deals, like on PlayStation VR, where you get like a whole bunch of games or something, or it's just like a really low price or whatever. So you don't have that anymore? Did you get rid of it?
Yeah, it was actually. I still have it actually. Yeah.
What do you think about PlayStation? Because honestly, like if somebody out there just has PlayStation VR and that's the only system that they've got, like you could still have a wonderful VR time with PlayStation VR. Like if you don't know anything else that's out there and you're just playing with your PlayStation VR and you got your Move controllers and you set the camera in the right spot and you don't have like mirrors screwing with your tracking or anything, and you can actually have a pretty goddamn good experience with PlayStation VR. Do you think somebody could just survive with one of those and and really be quite content.
That's solid. It's really good. Good system. Like it works well. Good camera.
Yeah. Did you I'm trying to think of like did you ever get the aim controller with like Farpoint or any of that?
No, I never picked that up. Hold on a second. I
Okay.
just got it.
No problem.
I got it. Yeah, one second.
No problem. I'm gonna switch over here. All right. So what we're gonna do real quick, I'm gonna check out what's going on in the news. Boneworks update adds new sandbox maps, time trial course, and more. Man, I haven't been in Boneworks in a long time. Basically, Half-Life Alyx has pretty much ruined every VR game for me because it's hard for me to go back to VR games, anything else but Half-Life Alyx once I've started.
Hey, I'm back.
Okay, what's up?
Oh, you're talking about Half-Life?
Yeah, well, I was just looking at the news here, and like Boneworks has a new update that's been added. I was just seeing what some of the news stories were, but it's hard for me to go into anything other than Half-Life Alyx. But at the same time, whenever I go into Half-Life Alyx, it's like it feels like it's a pretty long investment to like get somewhere in the game. Yeah. And then also there's such Half-Life Alyx, have you been playing that at all?
Yeah, I've actually been messing around with it a ton.
Okay.
It's like I love it. It's so, and I have the same thing. It ruins every VR game.
Yeah, but it's
every single one.
How far along are you in the game?
Like 5 hours. I'm like on chapter 7 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Like,
so
yeah, you're like maybe halfway, somewhere around there.
All right, yeah. So you're probably not ridiculously farther than me. I think you're probably a little bit farther than me, but not too much further than me. But like, so yeah. I think I'm still in chapter 5. It's a long chapter. And I was stuck in a number of different spots in chapter 5, and we can talk about it just for a quick second because I want to talk about the horror aspect of this game because like for me, dude, like I know a lot of people don't feel like it's that great of a horror game or they don't feel like it's that scary. But dude, I don't know if it's like just the immersion of the world of Half-Life, like because of the physics, because of the graphics, because you don't see like glitches and stuff. See, the thing is there's a lot of these VR games, you're walking through the game and then like a cup is like halfway through a door or something. You know what I mean? These like, or you see like the seams on the ground where it's just obvious, like this is a video game that somebody programmed and they didn't do the greatest job of it, you know, stuff like that, right? Half-Life Alyx doesn't have very much of that. Like you really got to search for that stuff. And I think because of all of that, because of the physics are pretty darn good, the 3D audio is really effing good.
Yes.
The graphics, I think, are the best graphics of any VR game. Like if you consider the overall package. But like immersion's ridiculous for me in this game. I don't know about you.
No, it's the audio. Audio is what like makes it incredible. Literally, I think it. Yeah, if you played through it and you just muted your like headset or whatever, or the audio, you just not. I feel like you'd not have any of the scare factor just because like it may be dark and you may be looking around, but you still hear the outside world, so you're reminded like you're not in the game. But like you just see when you hear like. And it just freaks you out, man. It's like something like it might be coming or it might be not, like, you know.
Positional audio. Like the audio is very well done. Like it's very like now the person that does your Alyx, like the character Alyx, it's kind of weird because when she's talking, she sounds like she's like 3 feet behind you and up a little bit. But I think they did that on purpose for whatever reason. But like everything else, like all the other stuff. Like when the barnacles, dude, like how many times have you been in a spot with those barnacles where you're carefully moving around them and stuff, and then you get on like a much higher level and you like see a barnacle like really close to you and you're just looking at it and it's like the detail, like it doesn't really break down. Like you can look closely at it and it's like maybe the resolution could be higher or something, but it's pretty freaking well done.
Yeah, it's when I pick up, when I see it most in the crabs. I pick up like, so I like shoot one and then I pick it up and I'm just like, wow, there's so much detail in the hair, like every little like aspect about it. I'm like, wow, they really like went a lot. And it's another part I get scared of because like I'm terrible. Have you gotten to the part that has like not the regular crabs, but I'll call them the level 2 head crabs?
Yeah, well,
Harder to kill.
the crabs I've seen is just your regular standard crab, and then the crabs that have like the spider hair. Like it's a standard crab, but it has like these like little hairs on the side of it a little bit, and then you have like the armored crabs that have like
Oh
armor
yeah,
on top of them. Those are the ones that I've seen. I haven't seen any. I think those are the three varieties I've seen so far.
yeah,
There might be some additional ones. Spoilers, whatever. I mean, it's been a little while now, but yeah,
yeah,
here's these barnacles right here, but the noises of the barnacles, like I don't know what they sampled to get those noises, but like the snorting, like the
yeah.
snorting noises and stuff. So the immersion, because I was in this one area, you've already been through this one area, and so minor spoilers for anybody that hasn't been in chapter 5 is you go through a hotel. You're like going through like a hotel that's, abandoned, and there's like barnacles everywhere, and it's infested and stuff, and it's like all jacked up. So like you're like on 4 different levels, but there's like giant holes in the ceiling, and so you got to like work your way up. But like you're slowly working your way through this like hotel area, and there's barnacles everywhere, and then you get over to a part where there's like a bathroom, and you open up the toilet, and then
Oh
you,
yeah,
you get a
everyone did
jump scare
that.
like that. But
Yeah.
it's that area right there was maybe some of the most intense VR. It was the most intense VR experience I've ever had. Period. Dot.
Yep.
Because it was like I felt like when I stopped playing, I felt like a major sense of relief because it's just so effing intense, man. It had me on edge because I felt like at any time one of these spider things is going to jump out of the
Yeah.
window or something, and then or like I'm accidentally going to get grabbed by one of these barnacle things or whatever. And
Have you finished chapter 5?
no, I'm still in chapter 5.
Have
Jim,
you? Are you still? You're still in the hotel though. You're like
no,
inside,
I'm
right?
out of the hotel. I'm out of the hotel.
Okay.
Yeah. But Jim
Yeah.
Jim Hall in chat says Anthony's been playing chapter 5 for about a week, and he's not necessarily wrong. But here's what I will say. What I will say about that is I didn't play VR the last 2 days. So like yesterday, no VR. Day before, no VR. Then I like for some reason like during this whole weird thing that's going on, like I haven't played as VR. I haven't played VR as much, but part of it is because like the job that I'm working at, like we're working a lot of overtime, and like I'm like today I worked overtime. That's why the show's later. So I get home later, and then I'm doing all this other stuff, and then I've got family things I got to deal with as well. And so sometimes it's just like, F it. I'm just not like some days I'm not even playing VR. What's the longest you've gone since you got addicted to VR? What's the longest break you ever had where you didn't play VR?
I started. I like took like there was like a month or so where like I got my computer, right, and so I had the Quest. I got a computer just for VR, and I had the Quest. And then once I had the computer, I didn't end up getting a like. So this was before the link was announced. So I was like planning on getting a Rift, and so before I got a Rift, I just played some flat games on there for a while that I'd always wanted to play. And I don't struggle with going flat or VR. I thought like I like both things. So there was like maybe a month or so where I just played a lot of flat games, and then as soon as January came on, Saints and Sinners and everything, that's when I was back in it. Like I got my Rift, and yeah, I've been good since then.
It's interesting that you took like about a month off because Reckoner VR, I don't Gary from VR Roundtable. I don't know if you've ever seen VR Roundtable, but
Yeah,
Gary was telling me that he was off VR for about a month, and going back to the discussion that we had about like how immersive VR is, like when you very first start. He said that taking a month off, like when he first got back into VR, it was almost like brand new VR player again, like the immersion and all
yeah,
that. Did you notice
yeah.
that at all, like having that month break?
I mean, it was only a month, and like I didn't completely stop. I like tried like a little bit and just play some Beat Saber or something like that every now and then, but it really wasn't that often. But like I would still, I don't think it was enough. I think maybe if I went for a year, maybe half a year, I think I might it might activate it like
Yeah.
right away. Like, yeah,
Yeah, I wonder because, like, different people that are like they use different substances. Sometimes they will take like a long break just to be able to have that original feeling again. And it's like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna take a 3 month VR break, man, so I can take a 90-day VR break. Sober
yeah,
October. Yeah, it's funny. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, we could go. But back to Half Life, dude. What do you? So like horror games, because like Half Life isn't really like technically a horror game, but it just kind of ended up becoming a horror game because the stuff that is in it. See, the problem is like you can have an action adventure game that has like monsters and stuff. For example, like Doom, right? You could have a Doom
Yeah.
game, and if you're playing Doom and you're on a TV and you're sitting there on your sofa and you got a controller, Doom is not a horror game. Like, I don't think anybody would call
Yeah.
it a horror game. But you take that exact same game, you throw it in VR, now it's a effing horror game because these things are monsters and they're human size and you're in the world and they're coming at you. And so I think that was kind of one of the situations that they dealt with here. Do you think that they should have done anything differently as far as like, should they have had less of this like dark hallway type of stuff? Because there's a lot of people that can't even play this game actually.
I feel I don't know if I'm alone, but I don't find it that scary. Like I don't know. The only I know everyone talks about how scary it is, but like the only place I get scared in it is when like I was telling you I would say the level 2 crab. If you the one not the armored one, we'll say that. Like the just the different one from the regular. Every time that thing would come at me and it'd take a lot of shots to kill, I always had to remind myself it's a crab because if I think it's a spider, I would just take it right off because like I'm horrified of spiders. Like I literally like and just having a spider just come out my face. No, like I just was like it's a crab. It's a crab. Yeah,
what about like
but I don't know.
what about like other horror games that you've played? So have you played anything in VR that like almost made you nope out of it? Besides something
Resident
that
Evil
just had a
7.
lot of spiders. Oh, okay, Resident Evil 7.
I I played like first 3 hours and then it's hard. I don't know that family's just scary, man.
What about if you went back to it now? Do you think it wouldn't be a problem now because maybe you were kind of early to VR and that was part of it as well, or do you think you'd still have a problem if you went right back to it right now?
Mm, I feel like I might be able to do. I've actually been debating after Half Life Alyx. I'm like, maybe I'm not that scared anymore because I hear all these people talk about how scary it is. I'm like, maybe I should go back into Resident Evil because I mean I paid $30 and then I only played 3 hours, so maybe it's worth giving my money on that. So yeah, I was thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm wondering like, yeah, some people say it's not scary, blah 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 blah, but the thing is, like, I know there's a certain group of VR gamers that they can play like 80% of the games out there, but when the games start going to like dark and scary noises and stuff, it's like, nope, I can't do this. Like, because
Yeah,
I'm not that way. I go into all kinds of horror games. I like being scared. It's fun,
yeah,
like, because it's extra immersion. It's like adrenaline. Like, there's nothing like going down a dark ass hallway. You're hearing some real freaking creepy noises. You know there's something down there. You have no idea what the F it is. And I'm always worried, probably like you, please don't be freaking spiders because some of
yeah.
the you have you ever played Face Your Fears 2 on the Quest?
Uh, I never played it, but I saw Let's Play of it, and I
Oh
know what you're
man.
talking about. It's
Yeah.
like there's a whole spider one on there. Yeah, it's like when you open the mailbox and then the spider crawls out. It's like I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I did
it's
that whole
this.
thing and dude, it took cuz I have a particular fear of black widows. I'm here in California And I got to tell you, dude, my house, like if I were to walk all around my house, every little part of my house, there's probably like 30 black widows living all around my house. And some people might say, oh my God, you should kill. No, they're fine. Like if you don't get any, like they come out at night, they have their own little webs. And as long as you don't F with them, they're not going to bother you. So I don't do the Terminator. I mean, what do you call it? Exterminator. I don't get like an exterminator and do all that stuff and spray chemical. No, because it's part of nature, right? But I see a big, giant, fat black widow, and there's just something about black widows. It's something about their legs and just their big, giant abdomen. It freaks the living crap out of me. And I was playing Face Your Fears 2, and holy shit, there's one section where it's basically the effing Black Widow game for a minute. And at first I was like, oh my God, I like panicked and couldn't deal with it. And then I was like, no, F it, I'm going to deal with this. Oh, you know what I found out for horror games? Bobby Blackwolf, if you're out there, somebody timestamp this section for Bobby Blackwolf, because here's my recommendation and this goes for anybody that like you're playing Half-Life Alyx, but it's like, oh man, it's too scary, I can't play it. Here's the way to get through any hardcore horror game, in my opinion, is just let yourself die. Just whatever it is that scares you, like whatever monster it is or whatever creature it is that is freaking you out, it's going to take a little bit of, gonads or whatever. Like you're going to have to nut up and deal with it, but just let yourself die and let it chew you up or whatever the heck it does. And what'll happen is you'll realize your brain will basically realize this is not really happening. It's just a little animation, and you'll be over it. You'll get over it, but you gotta face your fear, but just let it kill you. But then you'll be like, okay, because that's what I did with those spiders, is I just said, okay, I'm just going to stand here and just let these spiders jump all over me. And, they looked all freaky and everything, but, I looked at them a little bit more and I'm like, okay, yeah, these things aren't real. And I think that's one way around horror games. It's just hard for people to do that, probably.
Yeah. I've seen like flat videos of like, sometimes, I don't know if you might understand what I mean, but like you see like a spider bug crawl over someone's arm, and then sometimes you feel it.
Oh yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm saying? And that's in flat. And then in VR, if you see your own hand like that,
shit.
That's what I'm saying.
Dude, did you ever play Rush of Blood on PlayStation VR?
Yeah.
How far did you play into it? Did you get to the part where you're like on the roller coaster and it's like crawling on your little roller coaster car? Did you ever get to that part?
No, I didn't get that.
Oh my God, dude. That shit is so immersive, because the thing is, it was a perfect way they did it, right? Because like you're on this roller coaster, and the roller coaster is serving a purpose. The purpose of the roller coaster is so like because like you're moving through a world, right? So it's kind of unnatural to be automatically moving through a world. So the roller coaster acts like a cockpit or whatever, where you permanently have this thing that's there that's grounding you. And then you realize, okay, I'm on a roller coaster and I'm moving through this thing, and you have that there. And so you get to an eventual level, spoilers for this game, but you spoilers for Rush of Blood. But what happens is you get to this later level where you're on the roller coaster, and then on your physical roller coaster, things are crawling up, because you're expecting things to be out there. You know what I mean? You're not expecting something to be right here, like in your little VR world. Oh, man, dude. That was really freaky. But yeah, so you've been able to deal with horror, so not really a big deal for you. Yeah,
it hasn't been too bad. Hopefully it doesn't get worse. I don't know, only chapter 7.
Except for the spider thing. That's basically what does it in for you.
As long as you tell yourself it's a crab, I think you're fine.
What about this? Because one of the things I've noticed, spiders are a popular thing in VR. God damn, they're too damn popular. Yeah. But one of the things I've noticed is there's a lot of like sci-fi type games, right? That will have spider-like things, but they're not spiders, And like, have you ever seen like robot spiders? For example, like Robo Recall, they basically have robot spiders. Did you ever play Robo Recall Unplugged on
Yeah.
Quest or like any of the Robo Recalls? Do those things bother you?
No, I think as long as it's not that realistic, like the one you fight in Farpoint, you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
the big
yeah.
one. Yeah, that was fine. It's just as long as you keep it like alien, it is fine. Just but when it gets really realistic, you see the hair. It's like, oh no. Yeah, I think you should. You just gotta keep it alien or anything like that, and I think that you're fine.
Yeah, our Gambo in chat says, "Don't be a wuss." Don't. You know what? I go in a lot of these VR games, but what I am worried though, like I am legitimately worried as graphics get better and better, as our headsets get better and better. Like I can deal with horror right now. Like if there's a really good horror game that comes out, I'm not scared of it. I'll buy it and I can have a lot of fun with it. But I am worried that 10 years from now, I'm not going to be able to play a horror game because the graphics is going to be just too damn good. Shit is going to look too realistic. The tracking's going to be, so like our bodies are eventually going to get into these games, which will add even more realism. Do you have any concerns about that? Like horror might eventually become something you can't even deal with?
For sure, I feel like we're headed there. Like once it's already really scary. We're only in the Gen 1 of VR, 1.5 with the index, I guess, but like of VR. And like it's already like really too much for some people. I think eventually it's gonna catch up to people like us. But I think as long as we have a choice, I mean, we don't want to play the game, don't play the game. I mean, you have that choice. Like you're too scared.
Yeah, I wonder how developers are going to navigate that though. Will they like deliberately like tone things down when the graphics get that much better? It'll be interesting to see. Well, anyways, let's see here. I thought, why don't I ask you one of my all-time favorite questions, which I've been trying to do this with pretty much everybody that comes on this show. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but well, actually, let me ask you this question before we get to the big one about what's the key feature for next gen VR. Okay, so I interviewed Alyx of Virtual Insider, and one of the questions I asked is VR actually wait, no, I have that little thing. Hold on. Let me pop this up. Because this is actually a pretty big question, I think, that a lot of people could answer this question here is, has VR hardware hit a baseline? And okay, what I mean by this, so you've played Quest, you've played the Rift CV1, you've played PlayStation VR, maybe you've tried some other VR heads at some other places or somebody that might have one or whatever. So you probably have a pretty good idea of where VR is right now from a technological standpoint with the current headsets that we have right now. Do you believe that the headsets aren't really the problem, if there is a problem? Well, there's definitely a problem because not everybody is nuts about VR like we are, so there's got to be some missing thing. Do you think that the VR headsets they've hit a baseline? We're at a pretty decent baseline, or do you believe like we're still not even at a pretty decent baseline yet, like we need more advanced features?
Do you mean by baseline they're good enough for now?
I'm saying, yeah,
like...
they're good enough. They're good enough that millions of people could get into them if maybe we just had the right games, or because like so Half-Life Alyx is kind of like answering this question a little bit, because like now we have Half-Life Alyx. Like, what is it going to take? Is it going to take Grand Theft Auto 6? Like, if we had Grand Theft Auto 6 VR with the current headsets that we have now, would we have 30 million people playing VR? Or do you think the technology in our current headsets is also part of the problem? Like the resolution, like some people might argue and say, dude, these headsets right now are garbage. Our resolution needs to be 5 times. Like somebody might say that. Somebody might say, no, dude, the field of view, it's like playing through a little paper, like a toilet paper roll. Like our field of view is horrible. It's like tunnel vision. Like we need way more field of view. This isn't ready for prime time. Some people might say that. Do you think, no, that's not really the case? VR is pretty effing solid right now. We just need the killer software that's going to bring the masses. Or do you think no, we really do need significant improvements in these VR headsets?
I think it's the headsets have hit a baseline. I think we're good. I think we're with the Quest, Index, everything that came out last year, really Rift S, those three products, very solid. Like I think we have pretty much everything figured out, except for I'm like disappointed that the one product that's supposed to be for everyone, that like the Quest, that's supposed to be literally everyone's supposed to get it, good price, good entry, doesn't have the one thing that I really want in these headsets, which is comfort.
Oh man.
And comfort is
Yeah.
that's so important because if you're gonna have people that want to play it every day, just want to keep like a daily item, it's gotta be comfortable.
Yeah, no question about it. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and switch over to, so you believe we are at a baseline. I actually think we're not, but you know, there's no right or wrong answer. Like I'm not right and you're wrong and you're not right and I'm wrong. Like we don't know. Like we're not going to know for like 10 years or something. But
what do you feel we're missing, like from it being a baseline?
well, I don't believe we're at a baseline because I give VR headsets to, this is why I don't think we're at a baseline. Okay, I could put a VR headset on somebody's head. Like, let's say it was like a barbecue, like 4th of July barbecue. And I know this is in a world that doesn't exist anymore, right? But like a couple of years ago, right? It's a 4th of July barbecue. That type of thing actually happened here where I'd have some kind of party and like lots of people are over here. And then they're like, oh yeah, you got like a VR thing in your garage, right? Are you going to show us the VR? And so like I would take someone in like one at a time and I would put them in the blue, you know, with the big blue whale and all that. I don't know if you ever tried that old thing. But I would put people in these different experiences. And sometimes I'd put people in there and I would put it on them and they'd be like, oh my God, this is incredible. I didn't know that. Wow, I didn't know that this is amazing. And then other people, I would put them in there and they'd be like, oh, this is pretty good. Yeah, this is kind of cool. And then I'm not even kidding, dude. Like 25 minutes later, they completely forgot about the demo that I just gave them. And it's like the furthest thing from their mind. Okay. And it's mind boggling to me that somebody could have that experience because like when I tried VR, that first time, it freaking changed my life because I looked around and I was like, oh shit, we're in a simulation right now because look at this shit. But other people don't get that feeling from it. So for me, it's like, I feel like we're not to a baseline until everybody's like, get my credit card. Let's go. We're going immediately to Best Buy. You know, that's, although that might be a little bit beyond baseline, but that's kind of my explanation for that. But anyway, no, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I was thinking like, I think, yeah, it is true. We're really not there. I don't think anyone would go, oh, I'm going to go buy this right now. But I feel like a lot of what happens is you know, when you might go to a friend's house and they have a game that you don't have, and you check it out and you're like playing it and you're like, oh, this is fun or whatever. But once you own it and you know that you can play it like for as long as you want, I feel like it's different because like, you know, like in the back of your head, you're like, this is gonna go away. Like I'm not gonna be able to do this forever because this is my friend's headset or whatever. I feel like that's something that people are like, they'll be blown away, but they'll be like, oh, I can't experience this forever. And like, I don't know. It's like, sometimes
I get it. So do you think that's, but what I'm talking about is somebody though, they're like, yeah, it's okay. And then they like, so that maybe that person like they really were blown away, but like in some kind of subconscious level, they're like, I can't afford this shit. So I'm not even going to get excited about it. Like on a subconscious level or something.
That's what happened to me, to be honest. It was just like, I was like when I saw it, I was like, dude, this is insane. But then I like went through the pricing and I was like, dude, I can't get this. Like it was like 3 years ago when the Vive and the Oculus, because I didn't have a game PC, so it would have been like $1,000, and then on top of that $600 if the Rift or the Vive. Like it's just. But now I think with the Quest, it's very possible as long as that comfort gets solved. I think we might be there. Like that's what I feel.
Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't I just want to ask you this anyway, just to get what your opinion is though on like if we are thinking about next gen VR, because you probably have heard about like the Reverb G2 and like the Samsung Bug-O-Vision thing and like, you know, different headsets that might be coming at some point in the future. Like we're going to continue to get more and more headsets and they're going to get better and better eventually, right? Slowly but surely. And so there is this next gen VR that is out there somewhere. And these are all these different options of like things that could be the key factors. So like resolution, field of view. Now, maybe your pick is comfort weight, which is hella popular. Like this is the most popular one of all of these for real.
Yeah.
Like I think Mike, I don't know if I asked Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis. I don't know if I had this question for him, but comfort weight, I think he mentioned that. Lots of people have mentioned comfort weight. You also have like eye tracking, dynamic foveated rendering. You've got wireless, full body. What about full body tracking? Because like, I feel like it's so rated in terms of like, because when we talk about VR, like you explain VR to your buddy, you're like, dude, you're in the game, man. Like the ceiling is the ceiling of the game. The floor is the floor of the game. You're in the game, dude. But we're not really in the game because like our bodies are not, like I don't look down and see my chest in the right spot and see my leg moving the right way. Like we're not in the effing game. Some of these games have inverse kinematics, but it's not, it's your elbows way over there. And so, I mean, and then you got stuff like next gen AR pass through. Like if we were to add a lot of AR to some of these VR headsets, you got 5G modems that could be built in for incredible future video stuff that we haven't seen yet. The facial tracking, the advanced avatars. I don't know if you screw around too much with stuff like Rec Room, Big Screen, or Alt Space, or any of that social stuff. But that could be super game changing for that. And then like varifocal lenses, that is like Oculus's big thing where they were showing like when you put something up close to you, it should be in focus. And when you pull it back, it should be blurry, that type of thing. So like having multiple focal points. And then one of the things that I think is one of the most exciting things is play space reskinning understanding. And the idea there is like we're going to have these headsets that can look at your room and be like, and know that your wall and your ceiling, and it's like, okay, make wall the wall of the Death Star, make the ground of the Death Star, you know what I mean? Make that chair a bench in the Death Star or whatever. So play space reskinning. So lots of different possibilities. Would you stick with the comfort thing because you think, I mean, comfort is so mission critical?
I think I'm gonna go with the comfort. I feel like it's very, I don't know, man. Like, how do you, like, you said for you it was the full body tracking, and for me, full body tracking
actually
is another.
You know what's number one for me? Actually, if I want like 9 of these things, but if I could only pick one, like if someone put a gun to my head and it's like, dude, you could only pick one of these babies, we're gonna min max the shit out of this. Pick which one you want. I would actually choose field of view. I would choose field of view because I believe, like, here's what I suggest the whole VR world should do, but it's too late for this now. But like, I wish when VR started, we never even considered like 110 degrees. Like, F that noise. Started out with 220, baby. No, I don't know what they, but let's start with a huge ass field of view. And I don't care if every game has to look like Holoception, and every game is little stick figures. I'm saying let's go with a ginormous field of view, because think about it. If you're in a ginormous field of view, I think the immersion is so much more because like you're in the world more. That goes back to being in the world, because right now our world is like, it's like this. And so none of like this is not in the world because you're not seeing that. You're seeing this, And so when you widen your field of view, now it's like you really feel like you're in the world because it's like so much effing field of view. So I don't know. For me, it's that field of view.
I feel like, because like that was something with the PSVR that I kind of struggled with, was like the field of view was slightly smaller, but it got annoying after a while, because it's like when I went to the Quest, it was only like 10 degrees more, but I really noticed it because it's like when you put on a headset, you go there and then you're in the world. But imagine if we went there, we're in the world. Like that would be crazy. That's game changing. Like that's what I'm saying. you see around, it's like the same vision. Your peripheral vision is the same way, but that requires a lot of work with the resolution, like eye tracking maybe
Yeah,
to
it's
fix
well,
that. But it's hard.
it's the demands on the computer basically. It's the demands on the GPU and the CPU.
Render,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
rendering all those freaking pixels. But if we said, okay, you know what? Forget trying to make games look as pretty as Half-Life Alyx. Let's make games look like they're on the Atari, but let's have a ginormous or like an old Nintendo game from a million years ago, like super simplistic graphics, but ginormous field of view. I think
yeah,
then work up from there and then eventually get better and better and better. But let's start out with because I think if you had a ginormous field of view, you put it on somebody's head and they would be like, but like even if it was like a really simple world, like the very first Windlands. I don't know if you ever played Windlands, but it's like very simple, very basic. Like the very first Windlands, or just the most basic games you can think of, where it's just like flat shaded colors, like not a graphical powerhouse by any stretch of the imagination, but a ginormous world. I think you put someone in there, they're like, fuck, look at this. I'm really in this place, or at least I feel like I'm in this place. I don't know.
yeah. I feel I feel that. I feel like I was gonna say about Alex and all that. Like when you put someone in there with a full like field of view like that, I think they're just blown away. Like they like I don't know. And more on top, more than they might be like, oh man, it's not that comfortable. But I agree. Yeah, field of view is a huge thing because they'll be like, wow. So, yeah.
The other thing too, like resolution as well. Like you were just talking about Alex, and they have. I mean, we have like the original reverb. The first reverb is 2160 by 2160 per eye. And then you have like some of the Pimaxes that have really high. There's a few really high resolution headsets that are out there, but they're not really mainstream, right? But I'm wondering, like, man, I would love to see Half-Life Alyx in a reverb just to see like is the difference really like striking? Like these great graphics. I mean, it probably runs hella bad. Like you'd probably have to turn all the settings way down. Actually, that's a great question. We got to get a freaking reverb owner on here that is playing Half-Life
Yeah.
Alyx on his reverb and try to find out what it's like for them. But oh, I have a question I did want to ask you. Now, you were kind of going down this line a little bit earlier in terms of like why people are not impressed with VR, and you were talking about in the back of their mind, they're thinking, fuck, I can't really afford this thing, so there's no reason to get hyped over it anyway, because like this isn't gonna, it's a pipe dream, so I'm not even gonna get excited about it. I wanted to ask you about that because I think that is actually a pretty big factor for why younger people aren't that into VR. Like, for example, I have two kids, two boys, right? One of them is 19, the other just turned 17. And the 19-year-old is going to be 20 very soon. So basically like 20
Yeah.
and 17, right? So, kind of in your age range right there. And they're not that into VR. Like they've seen VR, and every once in a while they were kind of more into it than at other times. But I think one of the main reasons that they never like say, hey man, like I have Half-Life Alyx. They've never played it. They've never played it, and they don't really care about it. And I think
Yeah.
I think the number one reason why is because when they think of playing games, they don't play single player games. They play multiplayer games, and they're always with their buddies, or they're in some kind of like online clan kind of a thing. Like they play Minecraft, they play League of Legends, they play Fortnite, they play Destiny, whatever. Like they're always doing these like online games, like Call of Duty Zombies or whatever. That's what they do. They all get together, they're all in the games together. And see, the problem with VR is they might really get into VR, but there's 7 other buddies that they're really good friends with. Like none of them are going to be buying a freaking bomb ass computer and a freaking Valve Index. You know what I mean? So do you think
Yeah.
that's a big factor?
I think you got it right on the spot right there. I think it's perfect. It's like, yeah, most of everyone is playing online, and I don't know a lot of people play single player games. Like we mess around with Minecraft, but when that's a single player game that you play with friends, like you can play that with friends, like you have servers that happen. So it's hard because it's like we basically need to build a platform where everyone is playing it, where everyone's. I think if VR gets a killer app, which I mean we already have some, but I think a real killer app that everyone buys it for, it needs to be some online multiplayer game. That's what I feel. I feel like because we already have a lot of single player games, so if anyone's interested in single player, we got those. But when we go online and like your friend is playing it and your other friends online, everyone's on it. Some sort of like I know Facebook's trying to do the Horizons thing, but I don't know. I play a lot of VR chat, Pavlov, and mess around with that, and those games are great when you have friends. Yeah.
What about so the price of the Oculus Quest though? Because like you were saying, we're talking about VR hitting a baseline and all of that. And like the Oculus Quest is kind of like the perfect little thing, right? If it was comfortable, it's kind of like the perfect little thing. But at the same time, it's $399.99 and then it's $499.99, right? So 400 and 500. And that kind of sounds like the thing is that sounds like almost like a mass market kind of thing, but not really, man, because like you look at the Nintendo Switch, you look at PlayStation 4 right now, you look at Xbox One X right now, like the thing is like until stuff is like $249 or $199.99,
Yeah.
like I don't know. I don't think like $399 is not mass market in my opinion.
Yeah, I saw about that. I feel I feel like yeah, right now it's not very mass market, but I feel like what you is mass market is the used market. If you can get on there, used PlayStation VRs, used like a lot of the Gen One stuff, used vibes, you can find a lot of those for like 200, 250 or something like that. And I feel like that might like if we had prices that around there, like a lot of people would be picking it up.
Dude,
Like
here's
I suggest that.
yeah, no, and the number one tip I have for anybody out there, if you have a PlayStation 4, right? And you kind of want to get VR, dude, my original PlayStation VR, I had to sell it for $100. Like so I got a version 2 of PlayStation VR just because like the old one that I had, I just decided to get a version 2 because there was like a really good bundle and stuff, and see the original. I don't know which PlayStation VR you had, but like the first PlayStation VR, it had this big fat thing that like hung at the bottom, like where your ankles are, and it would like sway around. And so I'm playing a game and this like heavy thing was like swinging around. It was irritating as hell. Then they came out with PlayStation VR 2 and the cord was like a lot thinner and it didn't have that giant thing that was hanging around. And so at one point there was like a Skyrim bundle or whatever that came with moves and stuff, and it was like really great price. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy the version 2, F it, and I'm going to sell my old PlayStation VR. And at the time when I did it, I had this idea that I'm only going to lose like $65, $70 or something, and it's worth it to pay
Yeah.
the extra, right? But what happened is I could never sell my PlayStation VR. Like nobody freaking. It eventually got to the point where I had to sell my PlayStation VR for $99. Like on Craigslist locally, I met a dude like at Starbucks and he got my PlayStation VR for $99. And so my advice for anybody out there is if you want VR on the cheap, look at a used PlayStation VR, because I'm telling you, I was trying to sell mine for months and months and months and I couldn't get no action.
Yeah, the used market is perfect as long as just make sure you don't like meet up in real life. Make sure to meet up in real life, or if you can, or something like that. Figure it out because, like, yeah, you could get scammed, like my friend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
meet at a public place, where you're going to be safe and all
yeah,
of that, and yeah, but it's people don't consider that. All right.
yeah.
Well, how long can you go here? Or do you got to go soon, or can you go for a little bit longer? Or I don't, because we've been
Uh,
going like an hour, a little bit, like an hour and a half, almost, not quite.
yeah, I don't want to take up too much of your time. If you want to end it soon or whatever you want, I like, yeah,
Okay.
we
Well,
can
why
go
don't I just
whenever.
ask you like one last question, and then we'll call it a day. So,
All right.
So far with like all the VR games you've played, let's rule Half-Life Alyx out because it's too obvious as a possibility. But like, what do you think? Like if somebody knew a good friend of yours like got some VR action, like what kind of games would you recommend them to go after other than like Half-Life Alyx? Like what are some of your all-time favorites that you would stand by?
Okay, so here's what I would think. I always think it depends on the type of person. So if they're into multiplayer games, stuff like that, I would say Pavlov, number one, VR Chat, and Rec Room. Those three really good games. Like if you want to play to anyone, just meet friends or anything, those games are amazing. If they're into single player, I go by I would say Beat Saber. I love that game to death. And actually Audica. I love that. That game's very good. I recently
Hell
started
yeah,
playing
it
it.
is.
It's hard though. It's hard. It's like I'm trying to. I'm on the advanced difficulty still because I just started. But it's a hard game. Like, yeah, and that one, and then I would say Saints and Sinners is the closest thing that you can get to Alyx. Saints and Sinners. You
Yeah.
don't want to. You want to. That game is amazing. Like I love it. It's
Did you finish
yeah.
it, Saints and Sinners?
No, I haven't finished it.
Yeah, because
I'm still playing through it.
I'm still like halfway through that game. Like everybody would say, "Oh yeah," like this happens to me with every VR game. Like people will say, "Oh, 11 hours, 14 hours," or what, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm playing 14 hours and I'm like halfway through the game. How did you get through it in 14 hours? I don't understand these people, man."
Yeah, it's hard. I don't. I'm similar. Like in Alyx, I'm only a couple chapters out of you. I like to take my time to savor the game. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so Saints and Sinners, like when you were first playing that, I mean, just the act of like grabbing the back of a head and just bam, and
yes,
just it's so good, it feels so
yeah,
good. And the world that you're in, like it's not as advanced as, I mean, like you could see some of the seams and stuff, like, but it's also that like open world. Like what about like is there any part of you that thinks Saints and Sinners in some ways is better than Alyx because it isn't linear and because it does have that visceral melee aspect to it, or does Half-Life just win because god damn it looks so good and it sounds so good and it's so long and it's so well done and it's got so many like the cut scenes and the voice and the story and all that?
I I think what Saints and Sinners combats it most is in its melee. Like what you said, just the Half Life doesn't have that. You just have to go reload the gun, shoot, which is still really good, but like it doesn't have the same visceral like, feel that you get from just doing that. I feel like it definitely. Also, I feel like it like in Saints and Sinners, you have like a lot of moments that are called like just little stories they can think of. Like,
That's
did you in the
true, yeah.
beginning did that moment where you like helped out that lady that wanted to kill her like husband that was like turned inside her attic or whatever? Did you have that moment? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's
uh
like an NPC that approaches you.
Yeah,
She's
no, I
like,
did
"Don't kill
that
him." Like,
early in the game. It's pretty early
yeah,
when you help her out,
it's
but
like
I
the
haven't seen
first.
her like again or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
I never saw her again, but it's just a moment where you go into the house, you're like looking
Oh yeah.
around, and you're just like, I know what I'm gonna do, and then you end up killing him, and then you're just like, that's a moment in my head where I was just like, I did that. That's a mini story. I feel like Half Life doesn't have that. It's like Half Life is more like just you. The whole game is just its own thing. Yeah, it's very linear. Like yeah,
Yeah, what about like did you ever mess with Boneworks?
I'm mixed on it. I feel like I messed around for a little bit. I thought it was the physics were great, but it had some jank. It was like I
Oh,
don't
it's
know.
got
It's
lots of jank. It's got
yeah.
it majors in jank. It majors in
I don't know.
jank. Yeah.
I feel I feel like it was a bit overhyped for like what it was, but like I mean, it definitely like I don't know. I guess the physics, it just themselves, because that messing around every like for just seeing what I can do because no other game has like a sandbox mode like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but what about like in Alyx, like the physics, the comparison? Because like, were you ever in parts of Alyx and you're like looking at the physics and you're like, yeah, this is really good, but actually Boneworks physics are a little more realistic? Or did you, or you pretty much think they're like on an even par?
I think Alyx is better actually because it doesn't. I feel like
because of
if
the
it was
lack
like
of
Boneworks,
jank.
it would get annoying if it was like Boneworks. That's my thing. It's
Yeah.
like I don't know. It's like too much. Like I don't know how to explain. I just didn't feel. I feel like it was perfect how it was done in the physics in that game. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's cool that we've had. But what about like brand new VR people that play Boneworks, Saints and Sinners, and Alyx all in a row? And then once they're done with all three of those games,
They go back.
they go back in time, because what's our next game that is actually going to get anywhere near these effing
Yeah.
games? I mean, maybe Boneworks something, but like Asgard, going back to like Asgard's Wrath. It's like, man, because like Medal of Honor, like I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of excited for Medal of Honor, but I actually
Yeah.
played Medal of Honor at Oculus Connect 6, and I was like, I mean, it's nice, but it's like it's not doing any of this shit that these other
Yeah.
three games are doing.
It might not be the A team
Yeah,
for that studio. No, I feel
that's true.
like you think about games like Saints and Sinners. That's a game that I feel came out of nowhere. Like I feel like think about it. Like it was had Skydance done VR games before that game?
Yeah, they
I
did
don't.
Archangel.
They did
Yeah.
Archangel. Yeah, but I feel like that game I think was announced in October and it came out in January. It was like really fast. It got a lot of hype really fast and it came out. It was amazing. It was like I feel we're gonna get more of that. Like I feel like that game did not have the big lead up that we have with Alyx Asgard as we found out months before.
What about
I
the
don't know. I feel
whole?
like we
Okay, one last bonus question. I know you got to go, but the last bonus question is stories in games. Are they that effing important? No. It's like because we have these different groups of gamers that like I know there's a lot of gamers, and you're probably in the story category because you think Boneworks really sucks. Is like, do you feel like games got to have a story, or it's just like, what am I doing here? Or can you like you go to something like Space Pirate Trainer, there ain't no goddamn story, or if there is, I don't know what it is. Or like Super Hot, like does Super Hot have a story? Like I don't know. I think there's a lot of great VR games that don't have any effing story at all, but you're in a freaking world and you're existing in that world, or the story is like so paper thin that it really doesn't matter. And then we have these other VR games where it's all about the story and they're really like leaning heavily on the story. Do you feel like you really need that story, or can you kind of go either way, or what's your thought on that?
I'm like 100% a gameplay person. I'm stories
Oh,
like
okay.
so I know yeah, I'm
Yes.
like story for me is
Yeah.
like yeah, it's important, but I feel like sometimes it gets to the point where I'm like, dude, should I be watching a movie if I want to like I don't know. It's like there's no point. Like I'm clicking the button maybe every 20 minutes. It's like those Telltale games. I just don't get the point. I'm like just watch a movie. Like I don't know. Like I story.
Did you
I
ever
mean,
play? Wait, did you ever play Blood and Truth on PlayStation VR? Cause like I
I
thought,
played.
I thought that game was hell of overrated to me, just because like all those cutscenes, they're wasted on me, man. Because cutscenes just don't do anything for me anymore, unless you're gonna really put me in the effing world. Like the one nice thing that Half-Life Alyx does, it does cutscenes, but it very carefully wants you to stand in a certain spot, and it knows that you're going to be in a certain spot, and then the cutscene is going to unravel all around you, so it kind of makes you feel more there. Where Blood and Truth, like people were talking about that like it's game of the year. Like I think a couple of people said it was their game of the year, and I'm like, did we play the same effing game? But
Yeah.
story doesn't mean that much to me. But you're like the first person I've found that maybe is kind of in my camp a little bit on the story thing.
I'm yeah. I'm like stories like I don't see it when the gameplay doesn't help. Well, you gotta have something to make the game good. But like, I think if you have good gameplay, you got a good game. Like,
I want
yeah,
a good story. Like that's the cherry on top. Like it's an extra bonus. Like,
yeah, that's
Half-Life
what I mean.
having a
Yeah,
good story, or if you have a good story, like it makes it even better. But it's kind of like the people that think, oh, if you get a beautiful girlfriend, she's got to be dumb as a bag of rocks. That's not the case. You can have both. You can you know, you can have your cake and eat it too, or whatever. Like, you can get both of them. Like, it's not like if you have a good story, then you're not going to have good gameplay, and if you have good gameplay, you're not going to have a good story. You can actually get both. I know it's rare, but it's out there. But all right, Juan, man, this has been a cool conversation. I really appreciate it. This worked out great. You were perfect emergency guest because I had nothing to go to today. So thank goodness you showed up.
No, I really appreciate you having me on. It's a good time. I love the show.
Yeah, and we can call on you again because there's so many other things that we didn't possibly get into, other angles to talk about, like people your age in VR, and like I didn't really talk to you about like VR chat and stuff, and that's kind of interesting because I know that is kind of popular in that segment, and the whole idea of like all these body tracking or like, you know, trackers that people get for VR chat and stuff like that. So we could probably have you on again sometime. So I look forward to that.
Sounds great. Have a good day, man.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and end the call with you, Juan. But yeah, I super appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming on. And then I'll just go ahead and say goodbye to the people here. But thanks again. And like I said, I'll keep you on here as a potential emergency guest to call on in the future. You did a wonderful job. Great job. I mean, this could have been a total disaster, and you did awesome. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Okay. Take it easy.
Yeah. See you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Alrighty, so let's see here. We're going to go back over to this scene right here. So, yeah, that was awesome. Wizard Juan in the building. Also, young Padawan, or I was going to call him young whippersnapper. I had all these different little nicknames I was going to work for Juan coming on the show. First time, 18-year-old. You know, I don't think I've had a guest quite that young. I forget how old Chris was when he first started with VR Roundtable, but I think he was more like 19 or something maybe when he first started. But I think it's always cool to kind of get a little bit of an idea of what it is like with some of the younger people, because I don't know, I feel like VR skews a lot older. There's a lot more 35, 45-year-old people that are playing VR, and I think it makes a lot of sense because like we were around in the days of the Atari, Nintendo, Sega, and we always dreamed about what a VR world could be like, and then it actually happened in our lifetime, so it's like this super incredible thing. But we do need the younger generation to get enthused about it, and I think probably what we talked about on today's episode is like you do need a mainstream product like the Quest, but it probably does need to get cheaper. Unfortunately, I don't think the Quest is going to get any cheaper anytime soon because it's still selling crazily well. Of course, we've never had unlimited supply of it, so it's never gotten to the point where demand has been satiated, so maybe we don't have a really good idea. But like Oculus might have their own internal ideas of when they were going to start dropping the price of the Quest, and all of that has been waylaid because of the chaos of inventory. So it's going to take a little bit longer, you know, probably for VR to like truly break out and go mainstream in a major way. We probably might need an even more comfortable version of the Quest, maybe a Quest 1.5. You know, that could be the Oculus Del Mar. A lot of people are discounting that. It could possibly be Quest 1.5, more comfortable, less grams of weight, maybe a direct connection for HDMI. So when you do Oculus Link, you're getting a perfect connection. It's a possibility. All right. Well, anyway, guys, that's going to basically do it for this episode of VR365. But I got to say, this was awesome. I really liked having Juan on because, dude, I was not prepared, had no stories, have not been keeping up with stuff. But hopefully this was a relatively entertaining episode. And we will, of course, be back this Sunday, 11:30 a.m. on Twitch. I will probably string an episode together of some variety. Don't know exactly what it's going to be about. Maybe I'll have to have another guest on the episode. But, you know, guests can be good because everybody has their own angle. There's always some interesting things that you get with each guest that comes on. Juan did a great job. You know, we talked about a lot of different things. So hopefully that was a pretty decent episode. But let's see. I've got to find out how I shut this episode down. And I need to hold on one second here. Yeah, it's not letting me get into this for some reason. Something really weird has been going on with my computer. So I'm probably going to have to shut this down a different way. But anyway, guys, that's basically going to do it for this episode of VR365. And I'll see everybody on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time on Twitch. See you guys then. Everybody have a good one. Take it easy. Later.